Welcome to the Life You Love podcast.
We're your hosts, Grace Lemire
and Erin Convertini.
This podcast is for the dreamers and the doers.
For the women who want to create a life they genuinely love waking up to.
We believe that life's short, so let's build one we love. We all know the feeling of getting to Sunday night and thinking, where did my week go? Like you're just going through the motions and checking boxes, but not actually living your life. Being the Life You Love podcast, we wanted to tackle this topic in today's episode. We'll be breaking down the science behind why we feel like we're living on autopilot, how to break that loop, and how to build a week you're actually excited to live.
If I have learned anything in my 20s, it's that the majority of your life is actually made up in those small, mundane moments. And if you can't learn to truly love those small, little mundane moments, then you're never really going to feel fulfilled and build a life that you truly do love. So when we're thinking about designing a week that you're truly excited to live, to me, I think that means adding in more of those moments that you actually love and appreciate to just make your weeks almost feel more abundant. And these don't have to be anything big, right? Like it could be anything from planning a walk with your friend after work, or just cleaning your kitchen before you cook dinner, or when you're cooking dinner, so that by the time you're sitting down to eat dinner, you have a clean kitchen to eat your food in. So in this episode, we're going to give you just some small ways that you can design your week to make your week feel more abundant and more fulfilled, so that you can build a week that you truly love.
I feel like this topic is so relatable for so many people, because it's like you wake up, you do your morning routine, you go to work, you're at work all day. You don't necessarily have control over what you're doing at your job all the time. You're doing the things that you're told you need to do, or whatever the, tasks of your job are. You go home, whether you drive or you're working at home, you go home, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, now I need to make dinner. Now I need to, exercise. I clean. I cook. And then all of a sudden it's 10 p.m. and you're like, all right, guess I'm going to start my night routine and go through the whole thing again. And if you're not finding things that disrupt that routine a little bit, like to find little pockets of joy in that way, it can just feel like you're kind of, going through the motions of life. And I think, as y'all know, it's been a hard year for me. It's been a hard year for so many people. And so many people have said in the comments of our podcast and through DM and everything that this year has just felt like just going through the motions and like, Lord, help me, let me get to the end of this year, And so I think this is such a timely and relevant episode for so many people. And I'm really excited to kind of dig deeper on the topic.
Yeah, when I think back in my adult life, I definitely go through seasons where sometimes I am like, wow, I truly do love my life and I'm excited for my day to start. I am just very almost content with my day today and not even doing anything crazy, right? Like it really is those small mundane moments, but I'm just kind of content, versus sometimes I'll go through seasons of my life where I feel busy all the time. I feel like I can't keep up with my schedule. Even though I'm busy, I feel like I'm never really getting anything done. I'm getting to Friday and I'm like, what did I even do this week work-wise, but then also in my personal life as well? And I do think that that's how a lot of people feel, whether it be you end your work day and you're like, where did my day even go? I know that I was doing things, but I can't even remember. Or you get to the end of the week and you're like, how did I spend my time after work or before work for my morning routine? So I think that that's kind of like the differentiator we want to talk about in this episode, just small ways that you can get to the end of the week being like, wow, this was a great week. It's not that I did anything crazy. It's not like I went on this huge vacation, but this was a great week, because we deserve to have weeks that we truly love.
I want to give some background too before we get into the things you can do and things that help us when we feel like we're living on autopilot, and we want to kind of break that cycle a bit. Because for me, I am way more motivated and feel more compelled to make changes when I understand why those changes might be important, or why I'm in the situation that I'm in. Like if my habits aren't working, I want to understand why I'm not able to do it. Or if I'm having a hard time finding courage to take a leap of faith, give me the psychology behind why I can't find the courage. And so I think understanding why do we feel like we're living life on autopilot is important in trying to change that situation, I guess. Research actually shows that people spend about 47% of their day on autopilot. So you're basically just following these automated behaviors, and then your thoughts are kind of wandering from the task at hand. So you're just going through the motions. 47% of our day is on autopilot, which obviously that's a huge chunk. There's also been research that tracked over 3,700 behavioral moments and found that almost 9 out of every 10 daily actions, so 90% of our daily actions, were happening automatically without conscious thought. So we're spending almost half our day just like going on autopilot, and about 90% of the decisions that we make throughout the day are actually like completely automatic. So it's just kind of interesting to think about that. And those are decisions like, just like little things like opening a drawer or picking something up or, like grabbing a fork out of the drawer. Like that, it's a little micro decision that you're making. It counts all of those different types of decisions. And it's crazy that we make so many of them on autopilot.
Well, yeah, and I think that that just goes back to when most people think of their week, they think of those little tiny decisions as insignificant. Like, for example, when you wake up in the morning, I know for me, the first thing that I do is I go into my bathroom and I brush my teeth, right? And that happens totally on autopilot because I do it every single day. And then after I brush my teeth, I do my skincare and I'm maybe like putting on a little bit of makeup to start my workday or whatever it may be. And all of a sudden, that's 15 to 20 minutes of my life that happens kind of on autopilot. And for most people, we rush all of those because we do think of them as insignificant. But I think kind of like the overarching theme of this episode is just realizing that those small micro moments actually do make up most of your life. So if you're not, I don't want to use the term romanticizing it because that does sound very, very cheesy. And I kind of hate like the romanticize your life type of content, but it actually is so true. Like there is so much to that to be like, no, my skincare routine, I'm not just rushing through it. I'm going to stand in my bathroom mirror. I'm going to smile at myself. Maybe I'm going to put on a little like YouTube video to watch while I'm doing my skincare and putting on my makeup so that I can actually enjoy that moment and not doing it on autopilot. I was actually having a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago because I just moved into my house and they said to me, they were like, use this opportunity to start a new habit that you've maybe been wanting to start, but you have been putting off. And they were like, now is such a good time for you to start a new habit because moving, you're automatically out of your routine. So what would be automatic, like your habits that would be automatic aren't automatic anymore because you're in a new space. And I was like, wait, that makes so much sense because now I'm doing my skincare in a new bathroom. So it kind of like throws you out of your routine and it forces you to create new habits that aren't necessarily like already on autopilot, if that makes sense. So all of that is to say, like, you are doing so many things throughout the day just on autopilot and recognize that and don't rush through it. Just enjoy it and yeah, kind of romanticize it.
There's actually I'm listening to the Jay Shetty podcast right now with M on the Brain, and she's like a neuroscientist, and she said something along the lines of I'm like 3/4 of the way through the episode, but she said something along the lines of I'm totally gonna butcher this, but she is a big fan of moving. She moved across the country to Miami, and then she moved from Miami, I think, to Arizona is where she is now. And she was like, I'm a big fan of moving because scientifically within your brain, when you move to a new place, your brain has fewer like reference points or something. There was a term she used to describe it. So she's like, it's a great place. That's why it's easier to like reinvent yourself or form a new identity when you're in a new space because your brain has fewer reference points to go off of. So it's easier to shape that in a new way, which is cool. But also, too, I think it's helpful for us to understand like why we have that feeling. We know we have that feeling of being on autopilot. And it's like, why do we actually have that feeling? Because if you don't understand why it's there, it's really difficult to actually break that loop and start to make those intentional decisions about those mundane moments to help you enjoy your life more. So I was looking into this because I'm, again, really fascinated by it, but I'm totally going to butcher this guy's name. I feel like because I've never actually heard someone say it out loud. I've read a lot of things about him over the years, but I've never actually said it out loud. But he's a really well known psychologist named Daniel. I think his last name is pronounced Kahneman. But basically, he kind of popularized this idea. It kind of simplifies the way the brain works and says that our brain has two systems. System one, which is like automatic, fast, conscious decision making, and system two, which is slow, conscious, and effortful. So system one, automatic and fast. System two is like slow and conscious. What happens when we're living on autopilot is that we start to rely too much on the system one brain of making all these really fast decisions. It's really efficient when it comes to repetitive tasks, but it doesn't help with creativity or being emotionally engaged because it's really hard to make creative decisions really fast or make emotionally engaged decisions very fast because you're not even giving enough time for yourself to think or process or whatever. So again, it's good that we have the system one brain because it would be extremely exhausting if every single decision we made was a system two thing. If we had to make every single decision really slow and consciously, So we need both parts of those brains. But when we start to rely too much on system one is when we start to feel like things are happening on autopilot. So there's, for example, like let's say, and I do this all the time too, I will like reach for my phone. Like I'll just grab my phone without even thinking and pick it up. And then I'm like, why is my phone in my hand? What did I pick this up for? And there might not even be a reason that I picked my phone up because that's part of my autopilot, my fast conscious decision making where I'm just going through the motions of life, grabbing my phone, doing that without even thinking. And the flip side of this is that for some people, when they feel like they're on autopilot, it's because they're exhausted by making too many system two decisions, which is more of like the decision fatigue. So they're exerting so much mental energy and effort making so many decisions consciously that by the end of the week, they're like, it feels like this week flew by because my brain is so exhausted and I've been thinking way too hard. And we have an episode on decision fatigue that is really, really good if that's the place that you're in. But it's interesting to think about whatever, your own unique situation is of, okay, do I think I'm making just too many really big decisions that take, too many system two decisions that take a lot of my conscious brain energy and effort? Or am I making a lot of, fast decisions and that's why and it's like things that I'm just not even thinking through fully.
Yeah, and I think for why this is important for the context of this conversation all around designing a week that's actually going to make you feel really fulfilled and you're going to get to the end of the week feeling like, "Oh my gosh, this week was amazing." System 1 is so great for efficiency, but it's not great for fulfillment. And I think why this is important is because if you think about all of the things that you do on autopilot, do you find yourself like rushing through them for literally no reason? Like, for example, I always rush through my shower, which is like so stupid, but like, do you find yourself in the shower where you just kind of feel rushed, even though you have time to take a shower? Like, you're good, you're not crunched for time. But I feel myself like just rushing through it, being like, okay, I need to get out of the shower to do like whatever else I need to do today. And then I always sit back and I'm like, why am I rushing right now? Like, why am I
Mhm.
slightly anxious about the time that I'm spending in the shower? And I think that this can be applied to a lot of other things in your life as well. When you're just slightly rushing through all of these, again, small, mundane moments, because you almost feel like they're not the significant part of your life and you need to kind of rush through them to get to the significant part of your life. And my brother, he was actually in the military. And I remember when he finished basic training and I was talking to him about it and he was like, yeah, literally the whole thing is like rush, 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 sit. And it's like you rush through like all morning. They're like, come on, come on, come on. And then you sit and wait for 3 hours for something. And obviously in the military, they're like training you to be on a schedule and do what you're told, even if it doesn't make sense and all of that. But that like really stuck with me because I'm like, why do we do that? Why do we sit there and rush through all of these seemingly very small and mundane things for no reason? Because really
Mhm.
we don't have 24 hours worth of stuff to do in a day. Like there is time to just chill and relax and enjoy your shower, enjoy you making a cup of coffee in the morning, sit on the couch for a second and drink your coffee. Like you don't have to rush through it.
Well, what I think is interesting too, because what's funny is I would rush through cooking and eating. Like I would not want to cook things because I was like, well, it takes too long. It's too long. And it was hard because there was a time in my life where I was like, you know what, I would rather spend the 30 minutes it would take to cook something doing other things like working or whatever, which is so crazy. If my business couldn't continue on or grow without like with me spending time to cook dinner, you don't have a good business. You need to like, so it was never that deep, but mentally it felt like that. And I was like, I'd rather spend my time doing this, or I would rush through eating. And I was like, Grace, stop. You're going to literally cause like stomach issues by rushing through eating. But I actually looked into this earlier this year because I also felt myself rushing through everything because I felt like I never had enough time in the day because I don't know if I mean, I'm sure other people feel this way too, but sometimes I feel like there just is not enough time in the day to do everything that I want to do. And I feel like I constantly have this never ending to do list of things. And it's even just like this weekend, I took a little bit of time to clean out my car and I cleaned out my glove box. And y'all, I did Instacart back in 2020 and in 2021, and I still had receipts in my glove box from when I did Instacart because they had told you to always like save every receipt. I still had receipts in there. Why? I don't know. Like there's no, but it's taken me so long to clean it out because I just have always felt like it's just there's so many other tasks to do that are more important. So I had researched earlier this year. I'm like, okay, I'm rushing around everywhere. And I feel like that's not the energy that I want to have because, again, it makes me feel like I'm just living my life in a giant frenzy. So I researched how much time do you actually save by rushing? And there's not an exact study that like rushing in your day to day, but when you rush on the road, so when you like kind of speed to get somewhere, it saves like an average of it's like less than 60 seconds basically. And so I thought about, okay, you think about the speed at which you're going on the road. Let's just say 45 miles an hour. When I'm running around my house, I'm not going at 45 miles an hour. You know what I mean? It's a much slower pace and I'm rushing. So it's like how that it probably saves me less than 30 seconds to rush around. And then rushing around makes me anxious. It makes me feel frantic and chaotic. And then I get to the end of the day and I'm like, great, I just rushed through my whole day and now I'm ending it feeling chaotic. And again, that just contributes to how you're living on autopilot. And when you're rushing so fast, I feel like you end up missing out on a lot of the moments of joy. Like you're not enjoying doing your skincare routine. You're literally smacking your face left and right with your sunscreen and like you're in the shower and you got the scrub and you're scrubbing your body like crazy and then rushing out instead of enjoying it and actually, scrubbing gently or whatever, or you're rushing through shaving your legs and you're, scraping your legs up or rushing through cooking and not savoring your meal and whatever. And it truly at the end of the day doesn't even save you that much time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to slow down. And guess what? I still get everything done that I need to. And I'm not like, inhaling my food and brushing through my showers and like running around my apartment now.
I am the exact same way. We were actually having this conversation the other day. I don't think that this is on camera. I think we were just talking about it. How when you're rushing around, you're like shutting off the part of your brain where
Yes.
creativity lives. So it's like in the shower, when I'm rushing around and not enjoying my shower, like that's good critical thinking time. Like that's good time for me to be like feeling creative, just like thinking about what I want to do this weekend or thinking about like content ideas or whatever it may be, just letting my thoughts literally come to me as they should. But when you're rushing around and you're not enjoying the time that you're standing in the shower, letting the hot water touch your body, or when you're doing your skincare and you're not enjoying that time and you're just slapping it on, like your creativity is completely shut off during that time. So you can't even like it's counterproductive. You're losing time by rushing around.
And also that girl, Emma on the Brain that I mentioned, y'all know I love psychology and neuroscience. So I love her content. She did a video recently talking about how rushing around or like not rushing makes you smarter, basically, is I think how she kind of framed it. Because rushing, as you rush, you start to shut down a part of your brain that I think does the more like critical thinking aspect too. And that's why when you rush around, you start like you spill your coffee, you drop your keys, you like start to make more mistakes. And then those things just slow you down even further. And now instead of that activity, whatever activity you're doing, having little pockets of joy in it, now you're just adding pockets of frustration into it because again, you're trying to do your makeup and now you just knocked your bottle of skincare over or like when I rush a lot, I have this little like shelf in my bathroom that has all my perfume on it. And when I'm rushing around, like the number of times that the perfume bottles have like fallen off the shelf because I have little travel size bottles of it and they'll like fall off the shelf. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because they're glass. And I literally knocked a bottle of freaking YSL perfume on the floor and it cracked. And the whole thing spilled everywhere. It was really tragic. But it's like that's what happens when you start to rush around and then you're not even able to just like be joyful or spend time in the joy. But on that note too, I want us to like get into the things that you can actually do to build a week that you love. And I think what it starts with, because let me just say this, okay? I'm in a season right now of trying to get my morning routine back on track. And I've been waking up earlier and doing a very simple morning routine. And I've reflected a lot on why I'm doing the things that I'm doing in my morning. And I feel like a lot of content we see online are the most extensive routines ever. And I feel like you have to be really radically honest with yourself and be like, does that morning routine set me up for the day that I want? Or when I think about a week that I love, what does that actually look like? I personally do not want to wake up at 4 a.m., run a marathon, bring out a $5,000 red light machine out, hop and skip around my apartment, look up at the sun, do a dance. I don't need to do all of that before I start my day. That's not what brings me peace and joy. If that brings you peace and joy, do it by all means. But I feel like when it comes down to enjoying your week at the end of the week, you need to look back and be like, I did things that I enjoy. So I think to start any of this, before we get into any of the tips, it starts with knowing what actually matters to you. What do you like doing? What are your priorities right now in life? Is it your health? Is it your career? Is it relationships? And then when you know what actually brings you joy and what you want to prioritize, you can figure out how to infuse those things into your week.
100%. And I think that starting this conversation around like designing your day is a really good place to start on the topic of knowing your priorities. Because, for example, with me right now, my priority right now is getting done with work at a decent time. And that's like my number one priority. I don't want to feel like I'm on my computer until 5:30 or 6 p.m. My ideal day is being on my computer by 7:30 and going to the gym at 3 or 3:30. Like that's my ideal day. So when I think about like, okay, if I'm designing my week and I want to think about my morning routine, what morning routine is going to set me up to be on my computer at 7:30? That's probably waking up at like 6:30 so that I have time to take my dog out and make some tea and whatever I need to do, clean up the kitchen, whatever it is, to be on my computer by 7:30. But I feel like that's so important to just really think about like what's your number one priority right now when it comes to work, especially because for most of us that makes up most of your work week is work. So really thinking about like what's your priority? Do you want to prioritize morning workouts right now? Do you want to prioritize having a 3-hour morning routine so that you can have an hour to yourself to really decompress and have time for yourself before the start of the workday? So really thinking through like your work priority as well when it comes to designing your week.
I think too that if people who are listening, if you have a job that is really not flexible like whatsoever, and it's like, yep, I don't necessarily enjoy it. I have to be here at this time and I have to leave at this time, and I really don't have any flexibility over what I get to do during the day or when I start or when I end too. I think that's when it's like, okay, how do you, maybe it is similar to Aaron, where it's like, how can I, when I leave work, I can like mentally close that out? Like, what does my, drive home need to consist of, how to mentally close out from that? Or if I, maybe if again, if your work is like not flexible and there's really no way for you to, make it better, you can try to, make it more joyful during the day. But it's like, okay, then what outside of work, if you don't enjoy your job, is important to you? So if it's, for example, if your priority is relationships right now, okay, maybe on my ride home, that's when I take time to respond to voice notes from my friends. That's something I've been doing recently. When I'm on my morning walks, I'll listen to my voice notes that my friends send me because I have felt like I just can't keep up with them. But I want to nurture my friendships. And I feel like I'm falling behind on that a little bit because by the end of the day, I'm just like exhausted and I want to throw my phone away and not have it out. But then my friends are waiting for me to respond to their text messages. So things like that. I think it's good to also try not to prioritize too many things and pick a couple, like look at your life, kind of audit it, be like, what are my priorities right now? Where do I want to feel more fulfilled or have more joy? And pick 2 to 3 of those. It doesn't have to be your priorities forever just because you say, okay, right now my career is a priority or my health is a priority or relationships doesn't mean that those things are always going to remain your priority, but it gives you a bit of direction about, okay, where am I lacking joy, or what parts of my routines in my week do I feel most like I'm on autopilot? For example, if your morning routine, like you're just like, you feel like you're rushing and you're frantic and you're like, oh, like there's just a million things happening. And then I just like get to work and I'm like, I feel like I didn't even do anything this morning. Maybe the root and what you're craving is, I want a morning routine that makes me feel accomplished or makes me feel like, yeah, like I did something. And I feel accomplished after I, work out, or I feel accomplished after I read a little bit of a book or complete a crossword puzzle, or after I don't know, call a friend. Okay, how can you like integrate those things into your morning routine so that by the time you end up at work, you don't feel like you just went through your morning routine on autopilot. You feel like you accomplished something and now you're starting your day off on a better foot. And your week, then when you look back at your whole week, your week feels a lot more fulfilling.
100%. And I also think it's important to note that really commit to the areas that aren't a priority as well. Like if you're deciding, okay, in this season of my life, like my health and fitness is 100% my priority. Like I am scheduling in my workouts, it's in my calendar for 7 a.m. or it's in my calendar for 4 p.m. every day. I've been doing more like fitness classes, like whatever it may be, but I'm really not in a season where my career is a huge priority. Like I'm still showing up to work, but it's not a huge priority for me to pick up extra work. It's not a huge priority for me to get a promotion or hit a revenue goal. Really commit to that and just be okay with it, because I think something that I struggle with a lot is focusing on one thing, but subconsciously just being anxious about the fact that I'm not focusing on something else. Like, for example, it's okay to be in a season of rest, but if you want to prioritize rest, you have to be okay with that. And you can't just be laying on the couch and being anxious about the fact that you're laying on the couch. Like, you really
Mhm.
have to rest if you're going to rest. And so I think that's important too. Like, it's okay if health and fitness and also rest over socializing right now is your priority, especially now that we're going into winter. That could be a priority for you, but just really commit to it and be okay with that. And then the next one on this list in building a week that you love is energy mapping. And I really like this. And I think that this is something that everyone should reflect on, because everyone's answer for this is going to be totally different. But when you're thinking of designing a week that you truly love, you need to think about where your energy is, when you have more energy and when you don't have energy, and design your week based on that. So, for example, obviously, introverts, they get depleted after they socialize or they have an event out of the house or anything like that. Or maybe even after the work week, they feel really depleted. So if you're looking at your week and you're scheduling in 3 or 4 social obligations, that's not gonna help you. Like, that's not going to be realistic for you. But if you're an extrovert and you're looking at your calendar and you have nothing scheduled, that's actually gonna deplete you, and you're gonna feel like you're not fulfilled by the end of the week because you didn't do anything. So really be honest with yourself about what does your ideal week actually consist of when it comes to getting out of the house, seeing people, and maybe coming up with almost like a framework for yourself for what your ideal week consists of. I know for me, I'm more of an introvert. I get very depleted very fast. So my ideal week, I think, is one social outing during the week and one social outing on the weekend. So ideally, like hanging out with a friend or going on a walk or going to dinner during the week, and then once on the weekend. But if I schedule in more than that, then that's when I start to feel depleted. So just learn where your energy is and plan accordingly so that you can design a week that you actually love.
I think part of that too, going back to what I said at the beginning, is your ability to be radically honest with yourself and actually think about, how do I want to feel at the end of the week? And does the way that this is structured help me feel that way? Again, going back to the whole job thing, if you have a very inflexible job, you might not have control over 40 hours of your week, and that just might be your reality. But how can you use the other time to give yourself more energy? This is something that I've never had a massive friend group. Like, I've never had a lot of friends. I've always had a very small group of friends, like 3, 4 friends, and that's it. And also, living in the suburbs the last several years, there was never really anything going on. So I had maybe one social outing a week, if that. But most weeks I was spending it completely alone. And when I moved here, now I have like a bunch of friends. It's like a pretty big friend group. And I feel like there's constantly something going on. And I was like, yes, 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 I'm going to go to this and this and this and this. And then there's some weeks where I'm like, oh my gosh, I've overbooked myself. And all I want is to just be alone and just like spend time by myself, or go to a workout class by myself, or coffee by myself, or a walk by myself. And it's not that I don't like being around my friends. I love being around my friends and I love having plans. However, I've learned that I also am introverted and I need that time by myself to recharge. And also, when I'm spending so much time out of the house, it's harder for me to keep up with cleaning my apartment because I'm never home. But then I come home and I cook, and then there's dishes everywhere, or I'm, opening packages and things are on the counter, and I need time to like put everything away and tidy up. And so that's something I've had to be radically honest with myself about. Is like, yes, you want to be at everything, but you have to release yourself from the FOMO and run a strict program. Like, run a strict program with your own life and be like, what actually makes me feel happy and fulfilled, and just take out the things that don't as much as you can. One thing that like has kind of helped me, I don't know where I heard this idea of the minimum viable week. I've heard the term like minimum viable day, and I think we've mentioned that on the podcast before. I don't know where I originally heard it from, to be honest, but I really like this framework, and it's something that I'm thinking about for myself a little bit as I'm reconfiguring what I want my ideal week to look like and trying to get back into better routines. But basically, the idea is to set your non negotiables. So, what must your week consist of to feel fulfilled? At the end of the week, when you look back, what do you want to be like, okay, yep, I did these things. And so I can say this was like a good week. If it's hard to think about it in terms of a week, you can start with a day. For me, every day looks a little different just depending on how I'm feeling with all my health stuff. So I like to think of it as a week because that gives me more. To me, if I have a minimum viable day and then a day doesn't go according to plan, I feel like, oh, I failed. So when I think about not failure as a bad thing, but just like, oh, I didn't get to do that. So I like thinking of it in terms of a week and what needs to happen in the span of a week because it gives me more chances to fulfill what my minimum viable week is. For example, it could be, okay, my minimum viable week is I want to do at least 3 workouts, one hang out with a friend, one social outing, like whatever that may be. I know I forget who it is, but someone on social media, Caitlin, she does on her story when she'll post her workouts and be like 3 out of 3 or 1 out of 3. So I assume she kind of has a similar framework for herself where her goal is 3 workouts a week. And so she'll show herself doing them. But that can also help you feel a bit more accomplished in your week of like, okay, I did the minimum and maybe you want to do more than the minimum that week, but I know that if I do these things, it's going to make me feel a lot more fulfilled.
Yeah, and I think that you can get kind of creative with these too and set your minimum viable week to have different kind of fun things in them as well. Like for example, once a week I want to try a new recipe, or once a week I just really want to be like intentional with a night in cooking. Maybe my boyfriend and I are like setting the dinner table all nice when we usually just eat at my kitchen bar stools, and we're making a new recipe, or we're making a recipe that we really love and then we're watching a movie after. Like what is your kind of, yeah, minimum viable, like this is going to make me fulfilled in my week. I think some other good examples of this is like one social outing, like we said, or two, or however many, one solo date. So this could be like something in the house. It could be going for a walk. It could be going to a new restaurant. It could go thrift shopping, one coffee shop work session. If you work from home and you're like, okay, I really need to get out of the house more and I need to put some clothes on. It could be a good minimum viable week for you to plan one day or one work block out at a coffee shop once a week. Um, so yeah, I think that I really like that framework too. It just gives you something to shoot for, and you're just adding more moments into your week. The next part of this is calendar planning, and I'm really excited to talk about this section because I feel like this is something that I'm thinking about a lot lately, especially going into 2026. Obviously, everyone likes to redo their calendars and things in the new year. So I feel like this could be a good way to kind of like reinvent your weekly schedule and almost romanticize it. We want to talk about Google Calendars because I know Grace is a big Google Calendar girl and
Yeah.
I am trying to be better about keeping up with my Google Calendar. But I feel like this could be a good time for you, anyone listening to this, to go create your Google Calendar and like take the time to make it pretty, pick out your color palette that you like, add in all of your calendars between your work calendar, your personal calendar, and just schedule in some moments. Schedule in your social outings, schedule in the TV show that you like to watch, schedule in what you're going to do on Saturday morning, whether it be a workout class or a little coffee shop date or whatever it may be. But create your Google Calendar, make it pretty, and schedule in all of your little moments.
I like that Google Calendar. So I am a GCal girly, although I will say sometimes I see other people's GCals and I'm like, whoa, you are next level where they have every single hour of their day time blocked and it's so color coded and they've got emojis everywhere and whatnot. And I'm like, whoa, I am not like that. But I have my Google Calendar for my work, but I also put my personal stuff on it. So all of like, I have this time blocked out every week for us recording and like I had therapy before this and I have an hour every Tuesday that's repeated for therapy and I have like all my work meetings and things that get blocked out. And then I'll put my personal stuff on there as well. I don't share that calendar with anyone, so it's not like my clients can see that, but it's just me who can see it. But I like that it's like that calendar is my source of truth. And I like that it's visual because, first of all, I don't know how people as adults manage their lives without calendars. I don't understand. I actually saw a video the other day of this girl who said she is extremely type B. She was like, I don't have a wallet. I just bring my ID wherever. She's like, so I know that my ID is somewhere, my ID and my credit card are somewhere in my car right now, but I don't know where. I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to give me a heart attack. But she also doesn't use a calendar. And she was like, I just keep everything in my head. I have no idea how people do that. I could never because I have so many things. It's work meetings, it's doctor's appointments. There's like fun things scheduled in, friend hangouts, whatever. But what I like about Google Calendar specifically is because you're able to block it out with, like if you schedule something for an hour, my calendar is yellow. I can see all the yellow blocks and then I can see the blank space that's white. So I can look at my calendar for a week. And if I'm seeing a ton of yellow and not a lot of white, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to add anything more into this because I know that if I start adding all these different hangouts and social events and whatever, I'm going to end this week feeling like I just lived my life on autopilot and I did not get to just like pause and take a beat. I was just like, go, 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 go. And of course, there are some weeks that have to be that way because you just have obligations or work things or whatever. But it allows me to be more intentional. Like, I know, for example, this Saturday, I have a friend's birthday at night. So I'm not scheduling anything for Saturday, like the rest of the day, because I could see also on Sunday, I have church in the morning. And then I usually go grocery shopping or get my groceries afterwards. So that's like half of my day is basically taken up on both of those days. And I like to have at least one day for me between those 2 days. So I can be like, okay, I'm not going to schedule anything else. Um, and I think, I don't know, it just helps you to like see your week a little bit more, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that it is visual and you can add the work and the personal things all together because I feel like for a while I would go back and forth between a physical planner and a digital planner. But then I was having trouble like with my physical planner, it would just be a little calendar view on a physical planner, right? And I would add something in, but it wouldn't really give me context into as to what part of the day that would be. So I really like that with Google Calendar, you can literally just pull it up and everything can be there. Some other things that I think you should put in your Google Calendar are slot in your workouts. If that's something that in your minimum viable week, you're like, 3 workouts, that's what I want to do, put them in there and write out what you're going to do at the gym. Because I think a lot of people, they don't want to go to the gym because they don't want to think about what they want to do when they get there, but literally list it out. Say on Monday, I'm going to do legs and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z on my leg day. Another thing, my boss always time blocks between, I think it's 12 and 1 for a walk. He's like, I am going to take an hour-long walk after lunch every single day. And like nobody can book with me during that time because that's my thing. And I love that. I love that you're like holding yourself accountable to, I mean, an hour-long walk is a little bit crazy, but to put it in there and be like, no, I'm not working between 12 and 1. Like if you want to call me on the phone, but I'm not taking a meeting during that time. And then the other one is scheduling in tasks, but being very specific on when you're going to accomplish them. So I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I love to do a monthly admin day at the end of the month. And it usually doesn't take me the full day, but I'll time block like 3 hours on a Friday at the end of the month and I'll call it my monthly admin day. And the purpose of that time block will be to get all of the admin things that I've been procrastinating all month. So if you add that into your Google Calendar and you say, okay, on the last Friday or the last Saturday of the month, I'm going to spend between 10 and 12 or 9 and 12 doing all of these tasks, then throughout the month, you can go into that little card in your Google Calendar and list out all of the tasks that you want to get done during that time block. So I feel like that's another good example of how you can schedule in these little moments to be able to feel really in control and feel like you still have time to relax and get all of the things that you need to do done.
I think one thing about this too that is a good mindset shift, and this is like, I actually made a video about this, and I think it's supposed to go up tomorrow, the day after we're filming this. But I was reflecting on my own morning routine, and I was like, oh, I feel like I should start my day with some movement. It's just like scientifically proven to be really helpful for your health. But I was like, I should start my day with movement, but I don't like doing a workout super early in the morning, like an intense workout. I always get migraines when I do that. And so I was like, okay, how can I just add even just a walk in there? And I was like, ah, no, no, no. And then I was like, girl, some people you're like also do your morning routine and then they have a dog and they take the dog on a walk. And it's a non-negotiable because you would never just not take your dog on a walk and let your dog stay inside the house. You would take your dog on a walk morning and night or whenever you take your dog on a walk, you know? And that's that you have the responsibility to the dog to do that. Or if you have a child, you get your child out of the crib, you put their clothes on, you feed them, you do all this, whatever. And so this probably sounds so crazy, but I started taking the mindset of I need to start treating myself like a dog. Like I am, like I am my own pet dog. I'm not even kidding. Like I was like, I need to walk my dog, aka myself, every morning because why can't I? If I had, I mean, I don't want a dog right now because I don't want the responsibility of having a dog and everything that comes with it. But I'm like, I can get out there for 15 to 20 minutes every day. There's really, unless I'm not feeling well or whatever, but there's no reason that I shouldn't be doing that. And I thought about it too, where I'm like, okay, for example, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning. I have a doctor's appointment Thursday. Those are in my calendar. I'm going to be on time for those doctor's appointments because I am obligated to be there. I think there's a cancellation fee for both of them or like a no-show fee if I don't show up. So it's like, treat your own obligations, like show up for yourself and the things that are going to bring you joy the same way you would show up if you had booked that time with somebody else. And I find that that helps me. Like if I put something in my calendar, for example, last year, I used to put all of the Celtics games in my calendar so that I knew when there was a Celtics game on because I used to watch every single one of them and I loved that. And that was something that brought me a lot of joy. So I'd put them in my calendar and my friends would be like, "Hey, can anyone do dinner on Thursday?" And I'd be like, "If that's the only day that works for you guys, I can make it work, but I would prefer Friday because there's a game on Thursday and I want to watch it." And more often than not, it was not a problem, and if it was, I would just watch it the next day or whatever. But I used to put the Bachelor episodes in my calendar. I just because it's like it helps you to me, it helps me remind myself that I told myself I'm going to do that thing and I have an obligation to myself the same way that I would follow through if that was plans with a friend or the responsibility of taking care of a pet or another person. I should give myself that same energy.
I also think that slotting things into your calendar later in the day gives you a sense of urgency to do the things that you need to do earlier
Mhm.
on in the day, especially if you work from home. I feel like we waste so much time throughout the day just staring at our to-do list and being like, I don't want to do this right now, so I'm not going to. But if you have something in your calendar at, let's say, 4 p.m., like for me, for example, I have not been in a season of doing early morning workouts. I used to for like the longest time, but right now I'm just really enjoying my mornings in my home and I'm like I don't want to leave the house to go to the gym right now. So I have been doing workouts in the afternoon and like for example, we're filming right now, we'll probably end at 3:45. I'll go to the gym at 4:15. But if I put that into my calendar at let's say 3:30, I will get my tasks done by 3:30 because I have something to do at 3:30 versus if I'm just working from home and I don't have anything to do after work, I'm like, "Oh, I have all day. I don't have to get it done right now. I have all day." But then you just waste so much time. So think about it like that too. Like, schedule in your fun things after work, even if they're seemingly mundane, like watching your favorite show on TV or getting a workout in at whatever time in the afternoon so that you're giving yourself that false sense of urgency.
Mhm. I we also have a list too of just some like random miscellaneous tips to love your week more. And I want to go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this episode too, with making a lot of those system one decisions where you're just automatic and fast. Part of not feeling like you're living your life on autopilot is adding more decision. I don't want to say more decisions into your day, but adding more moments for you to make decisions that are not on autopilot. So, even for example, it could be, let's say, you really like makeup and you feel like every morning you're just kind of your morning routine is just on autopilot. You're rushing through your morning. Maybe part of not living your life on autopilot is adding some excitement to your makeup routine. So maybe you buy one of those like sets that has like 10 different blush shades and they're all like the little tiny sample ones. Or maybe you go to Sephora and you get like samples of 3 liquid blushes or whatever, because you can do that and you bring them home and now you get to like try those out in the morning and you get to mix them and make different shades and whatever. Maybe that's something that brings you joy. I used to be super into makeup when I was younger. Like I would wear false eyelashes to high school and full eyeshadow because I loved it. It was so enjoyable for me and peaceful and was like fun for me to do in my morning and very relaxing. And I loved that I could do like a different eyeshadow look every day if I wanted to, or, try different things with makeup. Or maybe it's hair. Maybe you try a different hairstyle a few times a week. Or if you really like coffee, maybe you like spend $20 to get some different syrups or whatever, and you try making different flavored lattes or whatever. The point is to like disrupt some of the automatic decisions that happen with more conscious decisions around things that bring you joy. That's like the goal here, is to be able to do
Yeah,
that.
and I think when it comes to, like, the makeup and the skincare and things too, one really easy way to do this is to either listen to a podcast or watch a YouTube video while you're doing those things, and if you love music, I guess music can be similar. I personally would rather watch it like a YouTube video than listen to music, but I feel like that's so next level to be standing in your bathroom or, like, sitting at your vanity and have a cute like YouTube vlog on. Like I'm not talking an educational YouTube video. I'm talking like a vlog, one of your favorite creators, like put a YouTube video on and just set the mood and do your makeup and not don't be rushing through it. I think that's kind of like the overarching theme with this is how can you enjoy what you're doing more and not just rush through it. If you are a makeup girl, like don't just rush through your makeup. You love makeup. That's one of your hobbies. Like just do your makeup and enjoy it and find ways to enjoy it more. I think the other part of this too is in general, whatever little moments you want to find more joy in, having your space clean is going to help you do that so much easier. Like whether it be cooking dinner or doing your makeup or doing your hair or being in the shower. You can enjoy those things so much more when your space is clean, just like flat out. This is something that took me a while to learn, but now I have to live by it. Just keep your space clean. It's going to help you enjoy the small little mundane moments so much more.
A couple things too that help me in the whole theme of just finding more pockets of joy. And I think to your point about rushing through things, part of um like what helps me with finding those pockets of joy is slowing down. I was at a Bible study recently and someone said something about how when you're rushing through things, you stop seeing interactions as opportunities. And I think that's like a good perspective to have. Like any interaction, whether it's with yourself, the people that you live with, people that you see around you, you start seeing it as like an opportunity to experience joy. Like your skincare or your makeup that you're doing just becomes like you're rushing through it and it's not an opportunity for you to actually like indulge in the self-care. It's just another task on your list. Or when you're at the drive-through getting your coffee on your way to work, you're just thinking about, oh my gosh, I have to get to work, I have to get to work, that you're not even seeing that as like an opportunity to maybe have a really positive interaction with the person there or to compliment the person, and brighten their day, or an opportunity for on your drive to work to reflect on the day that you want to have, or to even just like run through the day that you want to have, like think about the day that you want to have and how happy you want it to be or whatever it might be. So for me, it's been trying to view the things I'm doing as opportunities for joy, also not just a thing I need to do. So I'm like, okay, for example, when I'm trying to listen to more like podcasts and read more because I was in the habit. I used to read for like 2 hours every night last year. Granted, I had a lot more time because I had like zero social life. But now I don't have time really to read for 2 hours every day, but I am trying to read more and I'm trying to listen to podcasts that are educational because I enjoy that, but I just felt like I didn't really have space for it. So if I'm not responding to my friends' voice notes in the morning when I'm on my walk, I'm listening to a podcast, or when I'm cleaning, I'm putting a podcast on. One thing that I'm also a huge fan of is I have a playlist called Happy and Free, and it's music that makes me feel like, the songs that just make you feel like you're floating and you just want to like spin around in a circle and you're like, life is so beautiful and nothing can go wrong. Any songs that give me that energy and I know all the words and I love them, I put them in this Happy and Free playlist. And when I'm feeling like I'm just going through the motions or I'm feeling sad or whatever, I put that playlist on and every time it changes my mood because I'm such a big music person. So I'm playing that. I'm trying to slow down and think about when I'm out and I'm walking around, like, because I go for walks and stuff, or if I go to coffee shops, being more present. So putting my phone in my pocket or my bag. And even if it's just like complimenting more people when I'm out, like if I am at a coffee shop and I'm interacting with people and I see like someone who has a cute outfit, I'm trying to just be like, I love your outfit. That's so cute. Because those and then you have that cute little human moment, where they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." And you're like, "Yes, you look phenomenal." You know what I mean? It brings you joy. It brings you joy and it brings somebody else joy. And for me, bringing other people joy then brings me joy. And then that allows me to basically like, I don't know, slow down my week a little bit. And then when I end the week, I'm like, "Wow, I actually had a lot of really happy interactions with people that left me feeling really good and probably left a lot of other people feeling good just by being more present and outspoken about the positive things that I'm thinking about other people." And that's helped me too in feeling like I'm not just doing all the things that I need to do just to do them and try to like, okay, I'm going to go get my coffee. I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to go grocery shopping. I'm doing this, this, this. It's like, how can I, bring more joy to those little micro moments?
I love that. And I think the last thing that we have on our list here is leaving room for unstructured time. And I will also caveat this with leaving room in your weekly schedule for self reflection. I think these two go hand in hand. And on the unstructured time piece, I think it's so important to leave room in your schedule for the unstructured time when you're not just automatically picking up your phone or turning on the TV. For me, especially before it gets to be winter, I really want to sit on my patio more. Like, I have this huge patio. I got a cute sectional out there, and I don't really go out there as much as I would because if I have unstructured time, I usually just pick up my phone or I turn the TV on, which is kind of not the point. So I want to just like sit and reflect a little bit more. And I think that this can give you a lot of space to really think about what else you want to be spending your time on. Like if it's a Sunday and I did my workout and I went to the grocery store and I go outside and I sit on my patio with my coffee, like it gives me space to kind of think about what else I want to do that day. And then on the self reflection piece, I think that this is where journaling can become really important. Like reflect on how your week went, what could have gone better, whether or not you focused on your priorities, whether or not you remember all of these small little moments, even just kind of reflecting back and listing out some of your favorite moments for the week, I think can be really important as well.
And also too, there's like this cognitive bias. I think it's called the planning fallacy, where we tend to overestimate, I think, or no, underestimate how much time it takes to get the things done that we need to. So we naturally will put a lot of things in our calendars and then be like, oh my gosh, I don't have time. Like I wasn't able to get to everything that I wanted to because we think it's going to take us less time to do than it actually does take. It's when people are like, oh yeah, I think it only takes me 15 minutes to get ready, but then when you actually get ready, it takes you 45 and you're like, "Oh my gosh, it actually takes me way more time than I thought." And so if you end up trying to fill your week with so many things, like it is good. We're telling you to add in more moments for joy, but don't overbook yourself so much that then you're not even giving yourself enough of that white space on your Google Calendar to be able to do the things you have to do, like cooking and cleaning and, driving to and from work and whatever. Because then what happens is you'll end up sitting there having to make a lot of decisions really quickly because you need to keep things moving. And then you're in the same spot where you're like, wait a second. Yes, I added in one little thing of joy today, but I didn't leave myself enough time to do the things I needed to do. And now I'm rushing through the things I needed to do. And now I'm in the same boat that I was in before. So give yourself space to just like actually do the things that you need to do as well, because we tend
Yeah.
to overestimate how long that actually takes.
And I feel like that could be an entire episode on itself is like thinking about your to-do list for the day and prioritizing and not overflowing your to-do list because that's definitely something that I've been working on as well, just being comfortable only having a few high priority things on my to-do list. And like if I accomplish that, then I feel good for the day and I can move on to these little pockets of joy. So let us know if there's anything else with this topic that you guys want to hear about, if there's any other follow-up episodes that you guys would like us to do on systems or calendar planning, anything like that, especially as we're going into 2026, because I know this is a topic that a lot of people think about. But with that, thanks for tuning into the podcast. And until next week.